When people today think about the origins of economic thought, they usually go straight to Adam Smith, Karl Marx, or Aristotle. But there is a deeper, quieter truth hidden within the Middle Ages. A truth that Western history does not teach, or teaches only rarely. Nearly 1,000 years ago, long before the capitalist system, central banks, or modern economics existed, a Muslim scholar issued a warning that still echoes in every economic crisis today. What he said was this: when money loses its moral direction, decay begins within societies. And when we look at the world today, he may have understood us far better than we think. Welcome to the truth of money. To the place where money, power, and history collide. To a place where nothing is as it seems. To understand Imam al-Ghazali, one of the most influential thinkers and scholars of the Islamic Golden Age, we must imagine a world that feels both familiar and foreign. The year is around 1100 CE. Europe is fragmented and impoverished, only beginning to recover from the destruction of the early Middle Ages. In contrast, the Islamic world stretches from Al-Andalus in Spain to the lands of Persia and beyond. Its cities are wealthy, its squares are crowded, and its society is sophisticated. Baghdad, Damascus, Cairo. These are not places on the edge of the map. They are centers of economic and intellectual power. Trade routes operate through caravans carrying silk, spices, textiles, gold, and silver. Scholars debate philosophy, law, astronomy, and medicine. Markets and bazaars are crowded. The state is wealthy, and wealth is transforming society at a pace no one fully understands. It is in this world of increasing commercial activity and growing inequality that an Islamic scholar named Abu Hamid al-Ghazali emerges. Half philosopher, half jurist, half theologian, half critic. Think of him as a mind capable of explaining both the purpose of the soul and the purpose of an economic system with equal clarity. Born in 1058 in the city of Tus, in present-day Iran, Ghazali rose rapidly through the world of scholarship. By the time he reached his 30s, he held one of the most prestigious educational positions in the Islamic world. But what made him unique was not his position. It was his refusal to accept the status quo. He saw a world where wealth was increasing, markets were expanding, yet something was deeply wrong. A society obsessed with money but drifting away from meaning. An economy that appeared developed on the outside but was collapsing from within. You do not have to look hard to see the modern parallel. Ghazali began asking a question that very few dared to ask. What happens when a civilization becomes wealthy before it becomes conscious? To answer this question, he turned his attention to money itself. This is the point that surprises the West the most. Ghazali was not merely a religious thinker. He was one of the earliest philosophers to examine money from a moral and systemic perspective. While Aristotle viewed money as a practical tool and modern economists analyze it mathematically, Ghazali examined the psychological and spiritual effects of money. He studied how money shapes human behavior, how it directs incentives, how it affects trust, and how it ultimately determines the fate of societies. To understand his ideas, one must first understand how he defined money. According to Ghazali, money was not something to be deified, hoarded, or used as a status symbol. It was only a tool that facilitates exchange. For him, money was like a mirror. A mirror has no value on its own. Its value comes from what it reflects. Money is the same. Its power does not come from gold or silver, but from enabling people to trade and cooperate. Modern economists like to claim this idea as their own. But Ghazali was expressing it in the 11th century, while much of Europe still viewed wealth primarily as land or loot. From this foundation emerged one of his strongest ideas. Hoarded money is dead money. According to Ghazali, wealth locked in chests, hidden in rooms, or buried underground was not merely useless. It was socially destructive. Money that does not circulate does not finance trade, does not feed workers, does not sustain families. It suffocates economic life. He described this as stopping the circulation of blood in society, a phrase easily applicable to today's discussions of inequality. But his argument was not merely moral. It was systemic. When the wealthy hoard money, They create scarcity, not because resources are insufficient, but because circulation is blocked. Prices become distorted. Markets collapse. Here, Ghazali issues a clear warning. Speculation destroys trust. He had no tolerance for merchants who sabotaged prices, created artificial shortages, or profited from crises. He did not see speculation as a strategic tool, but as profit without contribution. He wrote, "Whoever profits from the suffering of others profits from corruption. And corruption, once it begins, spreads like a contagious disease, through markets, institutions, and eventually the entire society. If this reminds you of modern economic bubbles, crisis profiteering, or exploitative markets, you are right. This is simply the version written 900 years ago." Yet Ghazali was not opposed to profit. He believed in trade. He believed markets were natural and necessary. He believed wealth could have meaning and could even be noble. His true target was dishonest trade, cheating, false weights, concealing defects, manipulating information. He believed markets could function only when people trusted one another. And when trust is damaged, the economy collapses immediately afterward. In this sense, he was one of the earliest thinkers to describe what we now call transaction costs, information asymmetry, and moral hazard, without using modern jargon. Another major emphasis of Ghazali was the value of labor. He argued that work was honorable, while unearned wealth was spiritually and socially dangerous. Money earned through labor builds character. Money gained through manipulation destroys it. But Ghazali did not stop at individuals. He offered one of the earliest critiques of state interference in currency. Medieval rulers, much like modern ones, diluted gold and silver coins to expand their budgets, effectively taxing the public through hidden inflation. Ghazali openly condemned this practice. To him, it was theft. It destroyed trust in markets, it punished the poor, and it caused the system to collapse from the top down. A ruler who manipulated money was not acting wisely. He was slowly stealing from his own people, and this marked the beginning of economic decay. Ghazali predicted that when trust in currency is lost, people abandon their own money and turn to stronger foreign currencies. 1,000 years later, this scenario unfolded in Weimar Germany, Zimbabwe, Venezuela, Argentina, Turkey, and many others. Because money, at its core, is a belief system, and when people stop believing, the system stops working. Ghazali's conclusion was simple but devastating. A society can endure poverty, but it cannot endure corruption. Economic collapse is rarely about running out of resources. The real issue is the collapse of trust, the force that holds every transaction together. When trust erodes, even the wealthiest nation becomes fragile. Ghazali understood a truth that modern economics struggles to accept. Money is not mechanical. It is moral. It is a human ecosystem. And when the moral framework collapses, the financial system collapses immediately after. This is why Ghazali's ideas still matter today. Because history does not repeat itself. But if this gave you a new perspective, don't forget to subscribe.